Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now January 10th of 2022, and ever since the very end of The Mandalorian Season 2 and The Bad Batch, a lot of Star Wars fans around the world have truly been very much interested in the future of the Star Wars universe by George, John, and Dave, and exactly what's in store for the future of the Star Wars universe ahead. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, I am on Twitter at Mike01 if you guys want to go ahead and give me a follow on there. I do post a couple of entertaining things from time to time and really make sure to interact with you guys further. So we're now in a very interesting phase of Star Wars, given that we are already approaching the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 3, with the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 2, The Tribes of Tatooine, now out on Disney+. A lot of Star Wars fans have been very happy about what's been going on by Robert Rodriguez, really directing that show entirely, with, of course, John and Dave supporting him by their side. Now, overall, we already know that a lot of creators are coming on board over at Lucasfilm that will be under supervision by John and, of course, Dave Filoni and others out there like George Lucas, that's really going to handle the new Star Wars universe as a whole. So, moving beyond all of this, we already know that one major aspect of the new Star Wars universe is that they will be taking a lot of pieces from Star Wars Legends and really mixing it in with the new. Basically mixing Legends with the already established canon under Disney and Lucasfilm. And this is the ultimate key that John and Dave are trying to perfect by really creating that balance, by how to keep things very accurate with Legends while also doing something a little bit different, tweaking things here and there to kind of fit things in together with the timeline that's already established. So on top of all of this, one thing that a lot of Star Wars fans out there have been very intrigued about are, of course, the new Star Wars movies that are in store for the next couple of years. So one thing entirely about all of this is, of course, that with both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni now focused on their new Star Wars projects like Star Wars Ahsoka and Mando Season 3, they are also calling the shots over some of the Star Wars lore and how it's going to be handled. Now, further, it's described that both John and Dave are beginning to make key changes behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm in order to build Star Wars from the ground up. However, it's noted that both Bob Chapek and George Lucas have been discussing the continuation of the Skywalker saga, with episodes 10, 11, and 12 to be unveiled at Celebration of 23, that is going to be a major event. Further, the new installments are currently in the pipeline. One major character that is set to join the new Star Wars films, such as episode 10, that of course starts it all, is going to be Darth Talon from the Star Wars Legends books, and how Lucasfilm will be taking key elements from the Star Wars Legacy comics. So, one thing to take away from this real quick is that, I don't know if you guys ever knew, but there is a comic line called Star Wars Legacy. I do suggest that you guys go ahead and check up on it, read into it, because that's what Lucasfilm is going to be taking a lot of aspects and elements from those comics to be used in the future Star Wars movies, such as episodes 10, 11, and 12, that are going to first be in the forms of books, novels, and comics labeled as episodes 10, 11, and 12, that are later going to be adapted into movies in the not-so-distant future, so keep that in mind as well. Now, beyond all of this, we already know that George, John, and Dave are going to be calling the shots on the movies as well, not just with 10, 11, and 12, but also with the solo movies that are also in the pipeline as well. So further, Lucas is described to be very ambitious over including Darth Talon into the new Star Wars movies that will be released in the not-too-distant future. The formula that Lucas and Chapek are aiming for is that each Skywalker in the new movies, which so far there will be 3 new Skywalkers planned, the twins, both Cade and Jaina Skywalker, that will fight off their own foes separately. Cade Skywalker's foe is planned to be Darth Talon, whereas Jaina Skywalker's will be another new Sith-oriented character that will join the Star Wars universe. Now, additionally, there are extensive plans of using the grandchild of Luke Skywalker in the new episode films that will make him the wise Skywalker of the new set of movies. All of these stories will be told in new books and comics that will be released in 2023, right around when Disney announces their plans to create the movies. Further, those books will later be adapted into the forms of films. Now, let me just stop right here for a second. Now, these new Star Wars books, novels, and comics, whatever have you, they're going to be a big deal next year, alright? In 2023, we're going to have a lot of books that are going to continue the Skywalker saga. from that, they're going to be adapting all of that into the forms of live-action Star Wars films that are going to actually further complete the Skywalker legacy. And I think that's the ultimate decision that Bob Chapek and George Lucas really want to pretty much stamp down here, is the fact that they do want to really give it one more shot. They really want to kind of give the fans their own legacy, you know, their own take on the end of the Skywalker saga, given that, let's face it, the sequel trilogy really did not pan out well for the fans. A lot of Star Wars fans out there were very much upset with exactly what happened with characters like Finn, Rey, Ben Solo, and even Palpatine, etc. out there, that really could have been a whole lot better than what we got in the actual final cuts of those films. So that's another thing to think about. This is basically their shot at giving us yet another example of the end of the Skywalker saga once and for all. So beyond all of that as well, the new installments are also planned to dive more into an undiscovered area of Tatooine that will surprise the fans. It's noted that one key plan for episodes 10, 11, and 12 is that Tatooine is now going to be the home of the new Jedi Order. However, Lucasfilm is also exploring of including a familiar world that mimics Coruscant in the new series as well, that will be considered the home world of Darth Talon, that will be further explored. Lucas originally wanted to actually include Darth Talon to be involved in his version of the sequels before he sold it all over to Disney, and now this is Lucas's second choice and decision of doing all of this for the new episode films. The new Jedi Temple on Tatooine is described to appear similar to Luke's temple that was briefly seen in Episode 8, however will be on a larger scale that will even feature Jedi Temple guards. This plan by Disney is to ensure that they can end the Skywalkers on a more respectful stance, and that there are even plans to bring back Luke Skywalker portrayed by Mark Hamill as a Force ghost again in the new era of Star Wars that they are already set to call it the Legacy Era. The Legacy Era will contain different themes for the new, of course, Star Wars movies that will differ from the prequels and the sequel trilogy movies at heart. So here's another thing that I think a lot of fans absolutely need to know that's very important, is that these new Star Wars films are in the early development phase right now. They're focusing on other movies in the meantime, such as the fourth trilogy and the solo movies, such as Rogue Squadron and Kevin Feige's movie, etc. So we have a lot of movies coming our way as well as a lot of new Star Wars TV shows, be it live action or animated material. We have a lot coming our way, and I think the fact that we have people out there like George, John, and Dave really calling the shots over how the lore is going to be handled. We are in good hands. There's no doubt about that. They really want to make sure that they're going to create this consistent, successful flow of Star Wars projects. And I've said this before in the past, that it's going to take at minimum 3 years, give or take, of successful Star Wars TV shows and or movies to convince the fandom, especially the ones that want nothing to do with Star Wars right now, that Star Wars is indeed back in action and is going to be respected by proper creators. So it's going to take about 3 years for that to really occur, and as long as the Book of Boba Fett turns out very well in its entirety, as well as the Kenobi series, Mando Season 3, Star Wars Andor, Bad Batch Season 2, I mean so much more in 2023 as well, by far 22 and next year are going to be the most important years of Star Wars, so it's all up to them at this point. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know through all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.